This video covers how to classify polynomials and how to add, subtract, and multiply polynomials. It contains several worked out examples, including monomials, binomials, and trinomials, as well as how to multiply using the FOIL method. So let's get to the problems. Number 13 is asking us to classify this polynomial by degree and whether or not it's a monomial, binomial, trinomial, or none of these. So recall that the degree of a polynomial is the highest exponent on a variable. So this is considered a degree 6 polynomial, so the degree equals 6. In terms of the classification, monomial means one term, binomial 2 terms, trinomial 3 terms. But this polynomial has 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So we would say this polynomial is none of these. Problem number 14 involves an object being dropped from a cliff. The cliff is height 950 feet, and the height at any given time of the object is represented by the polynomial negative 14t squared plus 950, where t is how many seconds after the object was dropped. The question is asking us to find the height of the object at 2 seconds after it's dropped. So basically we're substituting 2 for t. So they're asking us what height will the object be 2 seconds after it's dropped. So we're going to substitute 2 for t here. So the height of the object will be found by negative 14, 2 squared plus 950. Negative 14 times 4 plus 950, which is negative 56 plus 950, which ends up equaling 894 feet. Number 15 is asking us to simplify this expression. So we need to look for like terms. 21x squared and negative 9x squared are like terms. So we will just take 9 from 21. 21 minus 9 is 12x squared. And we will bring down the minus 3y into our answer. And that's as far as we can go here. Notice this is an expression, not an equation. It does not have an equal, so we're not solving. We're just combining like terms. This next problem is asking us to add these two polynomials together. Recall that with addition, the parentheses do not matter. So we can drop the parentheses. That gives us 6x plus 2 plus 5x squared minus 4x minus 7. Next, we look for our like terms. This is the only x squared term, so it will go into our final answer. Next, we want to look for our x terms. 6 minus 4 gives us positive 2x. Lastly, we have our constant terms. 2 minus 7 is negative 5. So that's the final answer. For problem 17, they are wanting us to subtract these two polynomials. Recall that when there's a positive in front and no number being multiplied here, we can drop the first set of parentheses, but the second set, since there's a minus in front, we cannot drop them without applying that minus. A lot of times we just think of that as a negative 1 being distributed. Negative 1 times 4 is minus 4, and that has an x squared on it. And negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2. So that's how you apply the negative in front of the parentheses by changing the sign of both terms inside the parentheses. Next, we will combine our like terms. So 10x squared minus 4x squared is 6x squared, and 10 plus 2 is 12. So that might look like something you might want to factor, but remember, we never want to factor problems unless they ask us to. This is considered the most simplified answer. Problem 18 is asking us to find the perimeter of a triangle with the 3 given side lengths here in polynomial form. So recall that a perimeter of a triangle is found by adding up the lengths of all three sides. So basically the perimeter will be all of these three expressions added together after we combine the like terms. So we want to add x squared terms to x squared terms. Those are like terms. So the perimeter will be negative 2 plus 6, which is 4x squared. And for the next term of our answer, we have positive 12x and 2x. We want to add those together to give us 14x. And then the constants, 4 minus 8 is negative 4. So this expression represents the perimeter of the triangle with those three given sides. This next problem is asking us to multiply the polynomials. We can just distribute the 5x. So we will be multiplying 5x times 7x squared, then 5x times negative 3x, and 5x times negative 1. 5 times 7 is 35, and x times x squared is x cubed by adding those exponents. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15, and x times x is x squared, and 5 times negative 1 is negative 5, and we multiply that by the x. So the final answer is 35x cubed minus 15x squared minus 5x. Next we will get into some binomial multiplication. You can see we have 2 terms times 2 terms here, and those problems are usually done by FOIL. So multiplying the first 2 terms, the first term in each set of parentheses, a times a, then the o, which is the outer, negative 9 times a, then the inner, 5 times a, and the last term in each set of parentheses, which is 5 times negative 9. So a times a is a to the second power. Negative 9a plus 5a is minus 4a, and 5 times negative 9 is negative 45. So that's the final answer to this polynomial multiplication problem. For the test, you should also be able to go the other direction if they asked you to factor this problem. But this question was just asking us to multiply. In this next problem, we need to multiply a binomial times a trinomial. So first we will multiply the x through. So x times x squared plus x times negative 2x plus x times 5. Next we will multiply the negative 4 through. Negative 4 times x squared plus negative 4 times negative 2x plus negative 4 times 5. Simplifying, we get x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5x minus 4x squared plus 8x minus 20. The last thing to do is to combine our like terms. There's only one x cubed term. There's 2x squared terms. Negative 2 plus negative 4 is negative 6x squared. And there's 2 x terms. 5 plus 8 is 13x minus the constant 20. Problem 22 wants us to add the binomials 4x plus 7 and 3x plus 8 together. And then they want us to multiply 4x plus 7 times 3x plus 8. So for the first problem, 4x plus 7 plus 3x plus 8, when we're adding, parentheses don't mean anything, we can drop them, and then we can combine our like terms. 4x plus 3x is 7x, and 7 plus 8 is 15. For problem B, 4x plus 7 times 3x plus 8, we will want to FOIL those, or you can think of it as distributing the 4x times both terms and the 7 times both terms. 4x times 3x and 4x times 8, and then 7 times 3x and 7 times 8. 4 times 3 is 12, x times x, x squared. This one here would be 32x, and this will be 21x. So we will want to add those together for our middle term of our final answer, which will be 53x. And then the last term is 7 times 8, which is 56. So those are our two answers. This next problem involves how to handle squaring a binomial. So you have a couple options here. One option is just to write it as the binomial times itself and distribute the 2x and distribute the -9. You could FOIL the problem. The other option is to use your binomial squared formula, a minus b squared, which says to square the first term, a squared, and then multiply 2 times a times -b to get -2ab as the middle term, and then square the -b term to get positive b squared. If you work out the problem using this binomial squared formula, you can hopefully save yourself a little bit of work. So you take the 2x and square it, minus 2 times 2x times 9. We already handled the negative part of the 9 out in front here. And then we square -9, so that will end up as a positive. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared. -2 times 2 is -4 times 9 is -36 with that x in it, and then plus 81. So that should be the final answer. But we can work it out another way as well, just to check. 2x times 2x gives us 4x squared, and 2x times -9 gives us minus 18x. -9 times 2x is another -18x, and -9 times -9 is positive 81. So these would combine to be -36x, and you could see that we got the same exact answer. Here is another multiplication of two binomials, but you might notice that this problem involves the difference of two perfect squares formula, which is a squared minus b squared factors into a plus b times a minus b. So here's our a, and here's our b, and therefore we could go backwards here and say the final answer should be 8p squared minus q squared, also known as 8 times 8 is 64, p squared minus q squared. The formulas are supposed to be a shortcut, and if they help, that's great. If not, feel free to multiply this by hand. P plus q times 8p minus q. You can go 8 times 8 is 64. P times p is p squared. And then 8p times -q is minus 8pq. You always want to write those in alphabetical order so you can find your like terms, because the next one, if you wrote it as 8qp, you might not realize those are like terms. So 8pq, and then minus q and positive q multiplied gives us minus q squared. So it's the next step. These two opposites, -8 plus 8 is 0, so those drop out, and we get 64p squared minus q squared. So either one of these is correct. It's just up to you what way you would like to do the problem. I encourage you to try all these problems again and see if you can verify them on your own. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe for more math tips.